2, 1. Fragments of silicon, a couple of nibbles short of a megabyte.
Right, so welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. Uh, I'm your host, Adam, and joining me as always is Gallix,
Hello.
Petty Fan,
Hello.
Ogre,
Now I want to watch Reboot.
and Twilight.
Yo.
Uh, all right, let's get started with the news. Twilight, you go first.
Well, it's been raining quite a bit for the past few days here. Try not to drown from that.
If it rains anymore, I'll grow gills.
Otherwise, we've been working on fixing up the fence around our garden. It's an electric fence. And, make sure you turn it off first. Of course.
Yeah.
Otherwise, not much really going on around here in terms of games. Been playing one of the games for the review this weekend and finally beat Tales of Berseria last night. Otherwise, that's it.
Berseria is the new one that just came out, right?
Yeah, the newest one. I guess you go next, Fit.
Oh, me? Alright. Well, I saw the, doctor about my knee Monday, and he doesn't want to do the surgery yet. He wants me to do, physical therapy to try and build up the muscles in my leg and see if that pulls the tendon back into place. Because if it does that, cool, dandy, I don't need surgery. If that doesn't help, then I'm going to need surgery. But the problem with that is my insurance doesn't cover the physical therapy, and we can't afford it.
Is there any, do-it-yourself knee physical therapy?
There's, some exercise he was supposed to send me home with, but his office never got to it. So I've been trying to get a hold of someone there, and it's been proving challenging.
So, what are you gonna do?
I guess just keep trying to get a hold of him and see if somebody can send me a list of exercises I can do.
Because I'm like, this is quite a catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
Welcome to American healthcare.
Yeah, it's funny. My insurance would cover the surgery completely and fully, but they won't cover physical therapy, which would make so I wouldn't need the surgery possibly.
Yeah, this is a known issue about the issue of being better about emergency and critical stuff than it is about, basic preventative maintenance.
Because, yeah, literally, if they would cover the physical therapy, I wouldn't need my knee cut open, possibly.
I found a fairly official-looking thing I sent you. You can
Well,
check that out later if you want.
Yeah, the problem is I don't know what exercises I need to do, though.
I know.
Because, yeah, because he wants to see me in 6 weeks, so, if I'm doing the wrong exercises for 6 weeks and it doesn't strengthen the right muscles, then
Right.
that would have just been a waste. Other than that, some personal stuff about my parents I don't want to get into. It's not like breaking up or anything, it's more money issues. Other than that, not a whole lot's been going on. Oh, right. I just remembered my phone. Yeah, for those of you who don't remember, a while back, I think it was last year, my LG G4 died, my replacement that I got from that has also died, so now I'm using a loaner phone until they replace it because I got phone replacement plan through my carrier.
I was gonna say, was it still under warranty or whatever?
It wasn't under warranty, but we're paying the $13 a month for phone insurance basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad we did that, or else I would be out almost $150 that I don't have.
Oosh.
hmm And also without a phone, but yeah, that's kind of a given. Anyway, I think that's all on my end. So next person.
Garlics.
Fairly slow here. The weather's been, up and down, alternating being pretty warm and rainy, so, as you will. Work's been pretty ordinary, I guess. Video game wise, I'm looking forward to playing some of the games for the show this week, but also in the last couple of days when I was not available at my computer, I started playing the Switch remake of Wonder Boy: The Dragon's Trap because not because Let's Playing that, and someone else I watch who does Let's Plays is Let's Playing that, and it looks fun. So I started that because I'm getting pretty close to the end of Breath of the Wild. So
And the PC version of that's not out yet, correct?
Like next month, I think.
What was that, Twilight?
Could be wrong.
he said
I
next
think it'll be
month.
I think it's next month it'll be out.
Mm.
Let me check the Steam boxes.
I could be wrong.
Like, I knew they were, not same day, but I didn't remember how long was the separation between those.
Anything else?
Release date June 8th. No, nothing else really. I'm pretty quiet this week, I guess.
All right, Ogre, you're up.
Let's see. Saturday was my dad's birthday, so we went out and saw that new Alien movie.
Is it as terrible as everyone's saying it is?
It's not as bad. Like, it starts out pretty well, and then that last third kind of goes, meh.
I think what I've been hearing is less that it's like bad as a movie and more that it's not a very good entry in this franchise, and also some of the plot things are really dumb.
There are gonna be some problems if they ever really connect this to Alien, because that left a lot more questions than need be. But we had fun. The theater was actually really well designed. They changed out all the chairs for like lounges and everything, which I did not know about at all. So kind of made that more fun. Let me see. God, Monday was Final Fantasy XIV's live letter, where they broadcast all the upcoming battle changes. And my
They
God.
finally fixed Paladin, thank God.
Oh, I'm waiting for this first week. This is gonna be hilarious if everyone's trying to figure out how to do shit again.
Oh God, yes.
It all looks pretty good. They showed off the job abilities and everything.
Yeah, because these aren't just like real easy changes like it was from 2.0 to 3.0. They're changing everything.
No, this is like almost an upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
What kind? Like
A lot of there's a lot of abilities that are getting changed over that are just either gonna not exist anymore or
Being rolled
just
into other
gonna-
abilities.
yeah.
So I'm going to learn how to ninja again.
We're gonna have to learn how to do
Oh,
everything again.
That's why I said the first week's gonna be hilarious. But let me see what else. I've been playing through the Mega Man Game Boy games again, just for fun. And
enjoying
man,
that screen crunch?
uh, I can tell you right now, Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy is like just so awful, but I feel like people need to just like game designers just need to play that just to go like, oh.
Maybe you should include that in the Mega Man Let's Plays you do at some point.
Oh God.
At some point, but I don't think we're gonna get. If we're gonna do any of the Game Boy ones, it's gonna be 5.
Fuck.
Yeah, 5 is the only really important one because it's the only one that really does much original.
Oh, it's the only Mega Man Game Boy game that had original anything.
Well, no,
outside
the
of-
other ones do have like one original boss each.
yeah,
The Mega
it's
Man
like-
killers.
But 5 features return appearances from all of those and actual non-repeat bosses.
Yeah. Anyway, just been playing through those because. Let me see. Recordings are going fine, though this last one was kind of. Could have been better, could have been worse.
anything you can comment on, or is that one of those wait and
It's starting to hit that cleanup moment where we're just trying to get everything done before the game's over.
Oh, so you're not done yet?
No, this
Jesus.
is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And yesterday we managed to get Naka's win on A11S
Woo.
like 3 times over. I got my pants finally.
Tomorrow's the fun part.
Yeah, tomorrow I get to start doing Alexander.
Wait, pants?
I'm
Tank
just
gear.
literally one piece of equipment away from being best in slot for Paladin for the next 2 weeks.
That's if we
Anything
get
else?
it done tomorrow, that is.
I hope so. Shouldn't be too hard, but
You'd be surprised.
well,
Alexander
if
eats
A11
tanks for lunch.
if A11S is kind of the worst of the bunch here, I kind of feel like they'll have a better grasp on everything.
So is like 11 or 12 when you start fighting actual Alexander?
12.
No, 12 is actually Alexander. Everything else is just the lead up to him.
Yeah, A11 is what a lot of people consider the wall. Back when it was on content, most groups stopped doing that one. Because it would kick your ass.
Yeah. Anyway, anything else I need to think of? Not much. All I got is just that job action video in my head right now. Then I got a blood donation tomorrow, so that'll be fun. And that of all things, I got a doctor's appointment set up on June 16th, which is early access. Which is like, yay!
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was gonna say early access for the doctor.
Yeah,
No. Early access for 14.
And the servers are going to be down most of the day anyway, let's be real.
Probably. But it's like it's in the middle of the afternoon, so by the time I get back, there'd be high traffic anyway.
So, Rip, I'll let you know when I'm at 70.
Yeah, you'll be at 70 after I'm at 70. Anyway, that's it for me.
All right. It's my go. Jeez. I think I really had anything going on this week. It's more. World needs to stop going crazy for one day so I can get some shit done.
We all know that's not possible.
Yeah, I know, but it'd be nice. It's like keep meaning to do things, but all of a sudden, some stupid shit breaks on Twitter, and there goes 3 hours. Yeah, that's about it. Seriously, quiet week. So with that in mind, merrily we shall roll along to the interview portion of the broadcast. And joining us this week is Daniel Crockenberg of Faux-Operative Games.
Hello, how's it going?
It goes well. I think everyone here is doing fine tonight.
Yeah, sounds like.
What about you? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We're just starting to like figure out what we want to work on for the next game after this.
Hmm. Right. So, the way we start things here is we get to know the person behind the game, the studio, the whatever, and we start with asking how you got interested in video games in the first place.
Well, I've been playing video games pretty consistently since a child.
Hello?
Uh, Oh, it's kind of echoing.
Um, do you guys hear anything?
I was hearing him echo a bit.
Huh.
Do you have
Uh,
the Twitch stream open?
Is that better there?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So you're just asking how I got into video games?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I've been playing them since I was a kid. Like back when the original StarCraft came out and all that, and just way into those. And then just in the last couple years, kind of developed into like I wanted to teach myself how to program and do all that. And video games seemed like a good avenue to go down.
And junctioning off that last question, how did you get interested in video games as a profession?
Well, it was kind of like a combination of things, and where I wanted to learn to program, and I was really trying to avoid having to work for somebody else. And so it seemed like if I could make a game along with my business partner, that we could maybe potentially support ourselves doing something that we love to do, which is play and make just really interactive games.
And is this something that you learned like on your own, or did you go to college to, or both?
Well, both of us took like one coding class in high school, but beyond that, we're self-taught.
Uncommon, but not that uncommon in regards to the developers we've had on this broadcast.
Oh yeah.
Like, so what kind of games did you develop in your, I guess, amateur days?
Well, so basically, to some extent or another, we've been working towards completing Ruin the Reckless kind of since we started programming. It went through a lot of very large changes in terms of like tone and gameplay and all that, but it's almost been like one continuously evolving project with a few, I guess, discrete phases in it.
Well, I suppose the question is, if it's been one continuous development, how long have you been working on, or how long had you been working on it before it got released?
Let's say like at least the latest version of it. Because originally it started out as like a four-player brawler game, and then the focus shifted and narrowed. So the thing that we actually ended up releasing, we worked on that for I don't know, probably about like 2 years or so, including like kickstarting it, and then until now when we're still updating it a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not too bad. Like, fairly standard in terms of even indie game, video game development. Right.
Yeah, it's definitely a long cycle.
Mm-hmm. I suppose the more pertinent question is, what did the discrete phases look like?
Well, so initially it started out as a four-player brawler game, and then it turned into a four-player kind of like a Nazi zombie Call of Duty style thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there we decided to make it more of a dungeon crawler like it is, and then we dropped the other two players because that really wasn't working out well, and then just kind of it became what it is now.
Yeah, that seems fairly straightforward in terms of design process.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of like little things of because everything takes longer when you're trying to teach yourself how to do it, and then you have to inevitably go through and redo it a couple of times until it actually works the way you want. So for the first good chunk of development, we were just getting all the core elements of the game fine tuned and feeling really good.
Now, was the intention of developing this game always a commercial aspect, or is it something that wound up happening during development?
You know, at first it was kind of more of a hobby, and then from there, um, we decided to just kind of one day like go for it. We had a conversation about it, and we're like, yeah, we think we can take this idea and make it, and market it, and hopefully make some money off of it. And then that was about, I don't know, maybe 6 months into the development. So then from there on, it became a commercial project.
Hmm. Right, and you mentioned that you kickstarted this game.
Yes.
So tell us about the campaign you ran.
Okay, so yeah, we ended up, I guess, trying to make our campaign in such a way that we could still work on the game as we were trying to do the Kickstarter. So like our initial trailer was made all using in-game assets and everything, and like showing actual gameplay. And just given kind of the climate of video game Kickstarters, we figured coming to the table with something that was functional and really just needed more art, more content would be the best way to approach it as an unknown studio. And we got a pretty good response from that. And that allowed us to like finish the game and really make it the way we wanted it to.
Well, it sounds like everything ran smoothly, um, at least in terms of the
More
campaign.
or less.
Like, were there any development hitches along the way that impeded development? Or rather, I should say, was your game delayed at any point?
I mean, it was delayed in terms of, everything takes a little longer than you expect. And, but beyond that, pretty much everything went fairly smoothly. There was kind of no major point where we were considering scrapping the project. Seemed like it was on, that we were on track to hit our goals pretty much the whole time.
Hmm. Well, like I said, that's good to hear because there are Kickstarter games and Kickstarter campaigns in the world that haven't exactly gone smoothly.
Oh, for sure. And I understand why that would happen. We just, me and my business partner got really lucky in that, we have a kind of a good relationship for working together in terms of we can like argue with each other and tell each other we're, being dumb about something, and then 5 minutes later we're over it, just focused on the goal of actually releasing a game.
That is a good partnership. Now this flows into my next question. Is for a potential next game, would you use Kickstarter again?
We would definitely consider it because I mean, making a game is pretty expensive, and neither of us are artists or sound guys really, so we have to contract out for all of that stuff. And Kickstarter is really a great way to take an idea and then turn it into reality. But that being said, it is a ton of work, so we haven't fully decided if we would, use it again. But I mean, I would definitely recommend it as like a potential path for, how to raise some funds to create something neat.
Indeed. Like I said, it's good that you had the success you did.
Yeah, it's definitely very lucky.
And it's like I got to admit, I'm not exactly sure what the Kickstarter landscape looks like in the here and now because how do I put this? The well's been kind of poisoned by the failure of certain high-profile Kickstarters.
Yeah, and when we did our Kickstarter, it was pretty close to when a couple of those had gone down. So that was one of the reasons we thought it was really important to come to Kickstarter with an alpha build that worked and was functional and that we could give to backers. So kind of to prove like, hey, this is real. It'll never be worse than this.
Mm-hmm. Well, failures and perceived failures, I would say, because some of the failures are definitely more people not getting exactly what they expected.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. We're also very careful about managing expectations in that way and being like, we're only two people. We can only do so much. So let's be realistic about what we can promise. And if we can make more than that, we'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, right. So shifting to the game itself, where did the original conceptualization for Ruin of the Reckless come from?
At the time we started working on it, we've been playing a lot of Samurai Gun, which is this like side-scrolly one health slasher game. It's a really interesting fighting game, and it's super simple, but the combat ends up getting super deep. And so we wanted to kind of take that concept and make it top down. And then from there, we kind of decided like, oh, we like games like Nuclear Throne a lot too. Let's try and add some elements like that, and but keep the focus melee and make it just super manically paced. And personally, like I really like swarms and swarm AI. So we tried to make a lot of the enemies kind of act like that, and you know have, I guess, interesting ways of moving about the world and interacting with the player.
And is that how you settled on the roguelike element?
Yeah. I mean, like most of the games we like that have story elements or like any sort of progressive campaign or more of the roguelike type. And so we kind of knew from the get-go that if we wanted to have like a progressive experience, that we would want it to be roguelike.
And what progressive experience was that exactly?
Just in terms of like it not being like a multiplayer game and it being you're going through this tower and trying to get to the end, and like of the many ways you can go through a tower and clear it, I think roguelike is the most fun sort of style for it.
Is that because of the random nature, or is like the permadeath, or is it another factor?
Definitely a little of both. Like the random nature, I think, helps to keep it fresh for longer, and it means that every time you go through, you don't have to be fighting a totally novel enemy to have a novel challenge. So for like a small development team, it's very helpful to make games in the roguelike style because it allows you to use content more interestingly. Sorry, what was the other part of that question?
I forgot. Okay. Anyway,
I think it was mostly just that or the permadeath.
Yeah. That's
so definitely, I think permadeath is a great concept in games because it makes your character's life have value. Like when you can just die over and over with no consequence and nothing you have to kind of work your way through, then to me it takes the tension out of the game.
right. And so how many people worked on Ruin of the Reckless here? Just the two of you, or were there more?
As far as like all the programming goes, it was just the two of us. But there was also like all of the art was contracted out, as well as the sound and like the music and all that. And then we did have a little bit of help on some of the more complex elements of the programming, but 99% of the programming was done by the two of us.
And who did you contract the art assets out to?
To a bunch of different people, because getting art made for a game is much more of a process than we would have thought beforehand. And so it was really, I don't know, a balancing act of trying to stay under budget as well as get the amount of art we needed, as well as finding people who could do the different things that we needed in the right styles. So we ended up using about, I don't say 10 or so different artists for various different tasks.
And I don't know, how many artists would you say worked on this game?
Let's see, about 10 visual artists, and then one main sound guy, and then a couple of, I think 2 different bands did music for the game. There's a little bit of programmer in there too. That's stuff that we made in house, like the spirit tethers like that. You can tell it's not quite up to snuff.
And I did notice there was something that looked off about the tether. I was wondering what that was. Right. So, how did you go about with your procedural generation?
Well, how technical do you want me to get?
I don't know. How technical can you get?
All right. So basically, the way we do the procedural generation is it makes a room, and we have basically a certain algorithm we use to determine how the floor layout will happen. And there's like maybe 5 different base patterns, from like spoken wheel to like long windy hallway style, to just rooms everywhere with random hallways everywhere, to like one big chunky room, all kinds of things like that. And then for each floor, it can either have like predetermined encounters or random encounters, or some combination of the two. And those are spread around randomly and somewhat evenly across the different rooms that exist in the dungeon.
So there are basically different level types.
Yeah, in terms of both like the floor plan of a room and the enemy presence in a room.
And in regards to the progressive elements, exactly what progresses? Like, is it a rogue legacy thing where certain stats are retained, or you get built up?
So in general, what the main thing that progresses is you get these like things called chaos cards, which are like modifiers to the rule set essentially, and they can do things like make the game easier, harder, or weirder. Just they change all sorts of things and give the player a lot more control over their play experience. And you collect those as you go through the game. And so the the changes or the things you progress in are controlled through that system.
And what sort of changes do the chaos cards make for?
Well, like my favorite one, for instance, is called Swarm, and what that one does is it takes away your main melee weapon and gives you like a huge swarm of pets that will follow you around and regenerate over time. And it really just changes the way the game feels quite a bit, from being like this manic melee brawler to like controlling this swarm of pets and making them do your bidding and trying to keep them alive.
I don't think I've come across that card yet. Although I came across, I think, a spell book that was sort of like that.
Oh yeah, there's a spellbook that lets you summon pets out of corpses.
Yeah, like I was able to summon like 4 pets at a time. Do some devastating damage.
Yeah, you can. Oh, for sure. The pets are like tiny little glass cannons. They will destroy the enemies, but they go down pretty easily.
I've noticed. So, how long would it, exciting like death? How long would a run through the tower last you?
So if you play the whole thing start to finish relatively at like a normal pace, if you're clearing every floor, it's about 90 seconds a floor for 20 floors. So, and then a little time in the shops, so half an hour maybe.
Like,
But it takes about 10 hours of playing the game at least to get to the point where you can beat the game. So that's where the real duration of the game comes from.
alteration?
Duration, sorry, like the play lifetime of it.
Yeah. Sorry, I misheard you there. Right. So this game also has multiplayer. You mentioned this was initially supposed to be a 4-player affair. What exactly was the difficulty in implementing that?
Well, essentially, it came down to the cameras. It's really hard to show 4 players in one camera without heavily restricting what they can do. And we just felt it wasn't more fun to play 3-player, 4-player than it was to play 2-player, especially since it was a local co-op game only.
That does lead me to my next question. Did you have any aspirations of online multiplayer, or is it always going to be local?
It was always going to be local, because to properly integrate online multiplayer, you really have to start from the beginning with it. And we hadn't done that, so kind of by the time we had considered trying to add that in, we'd already missed the window. But the next thing we're working on, we want to make an online multiplayer game.
Right, and so Is this game being was this game developed in like Unity or another middleware engine of that stature?
It's developed in Game Maker Studio.
Oh, Game Maker.
Yep.
Like, not a common one, but it does get some use.
Yeah, the thing is, it's very user friendly if you're relatively new to programming. Once you kind of know more of what you're doing, it does have some limitations that can be frustrating. But we found that it could do pretty much everything we wanted. So.
Yeah, Game Maker is pretty good in regards to 2D games, especially.
Yeah. It's like for a 3D project, I don't know if we would go with it, but for 2D, it definitely does the trick.
And given that in mind, is this game only on the PC right now?
Yeah, it's currently only on the PC, but we're exploring porting it to Linux and Mac, and then from there we might try and put it in PlayStation, Xbox, kind of depending on a few factors.
I'm like, well, is that something you would attempt yourself, or you get someone else to do?
I mean, both are possible, and that's kind of what we're looking into right now. Because ideally, we'd like to have someone else do it, so we can start working on the next project a little more and get that going. But we also could do it ourselves, so that will take longer.
I see. Certainly need to weigh your options there. I mean, and I suppose the question that beckons in regards to Mac and Linux is how far along are those versions, and are you having any, platform-specific difficulties looking in your direction, Linux, currently?
Well, we haven't really we're just kind of starting on that this week, so nothing has really come up yet. That's proved problematic. So, but we'll see.
I mean, we've spoken to other devs on the issue, and if there's usually a problem, it's going to be on the Linux side of things, just because of the way Linux works.
Oh yeah, see, I'm not very familiar with how Linux works.
Linux is for people who like their operating systems a la carte.
Gotcha.
Right. And shifting focus a bit here, the music. Who handled the music?
Well, so most of it's done by Slime Girls, and then Protodome, and then I think there's one track from a band called LRAD.
I gotta admit, I'm not familiar with any of the artists here. What about anyone else here heard of these bands?
I have not.
Me neither.
No, but I'm not super knowledgeable about music.
It's all they're like chiptune electro music, so it's a kind of a niche genre.
Yeah, I'm like certainly heard a lot of chiptune retro tracks, simply because those are really popular on the indie scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many tracks are in the game, and can you get the soundtrack independent of the game?
Yeah, so you can get our soundtrack through Steam, and I think also GOG. And, I think there's maybe 8 songs on the soundtrack, including our theme song, which was done by Slime Girls as an original track.
Right. Let's see. And I suppose my final question is, can you tell us anything about your upcoming project yet, or is that still too early to speak about?
I can tell you about what we're getting ready. Kind of definitely the idea is still coming together. So don't hold me to anything I say here, but we're currently thinking about making it kind of a similar top-down melee, like how Rune of the Reckless is, but we want to make it like a 12-player multiplayer team experience, kind of like Overwatch. And with really low life totals, but so say a King of the Hill 6v6 control the capture point type deal.
That could be interesting.
Yeah, we thought it was a pretty unexplored play space in the indie scene, so seems like it could be a lot of fun.
That does sound interesting.
Plus, we love Overwatch, so it's hard not to take some inspiration from it.
Indeed, Overwatch just celebrated its
First
first
anniversary.
anniversary. Yeah,
Yeah, it just went on.
yeah. All right. I'll ask if my colleagues here have any final questions.
I'm good. Everything I was gonna ask has already been asked.
Yeah, I don't have much. I'm looking forward to trying out the game though.
Yeah, have you guys played Rune of the Reckless yet? And like, how far have you
I've been
gotten?
playing it on stream. I've only made it to the first shop.
Okay.
I've played about 2.5 hours. Like, that's probably not a good indicator. Like, I've gotten up to I think floor 7 so far.
All right, yeah, that sounds about like a pretty normal progression for most people. It definitely takes like there's these kind of leaps in understanding a lot of players make that'll kind of allow them to more consistently get to certain higher floors.
Hmm. I haven't played yet. Most of my I do it right now, but I'm in the middle of my computer doesn't like doing too many things at a time. So,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, other than that, most of my computer time is in later in the week.
Yeah. Twilight, what about you?
I'm good on questions. I've played the game for about 2 hours myself.
Yeah,
Enjoying
I
it
mean,
so far.
yeah, it's like so far I'm enjoying it. It's like more for the brawler elements. In terms of rogue, it's all pretty typical rogue stuff. I say this because we play a lot of roguelikes on the program.
Oh yeah.
It's like roguelikes are fairly popular among the indie sets.
Yeah, they
Though,
definitely are.
though I got to say, it's pretty interesting to see how um, the myriad of ways the roguelike genre evolves. Because,
Yeah, I
like,
mean, if you take just like the basic idea of permadeath and random generation, and really you can apply it to a ton of different game ideas. And I
yeah,
think a lot of game ideas benefit a lot from those two ideas.
yeah, like we interviewed and played a game called Tumbleseed just a few weeks ago, and that was probably the most unique roguelike I've ever played.
It was
What's
very
the
unexpectedly roguelike.
what's the idea behind it? Are you like a tumbleweed?
You're a Tumbleseed. I'm
Oh,
like,
tumbleweed.
okay, so how do
It's an arcade originated idea of the whole point of the game is to move up a mountain, and you can only control your thing by you're a round rolling seed that's balanced on a bar or a vine, and you can only control the two ends of the vine. You can't actually
Huh.
control your character much. But then
Interesting.
the layout is somewhat randomized, and there are some weird sort of pseudo RPG elements.
Huh. That definitely sounds like an interesting idea for sure.
Yeah. Like I said, it's definitely an idea that's been applied to a lot of different genres. Probably why we call there's there's roguelite lights. It
Yeah.
gets hard to delineate after a while.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of different names for uh, a category of games that are only loosely related in genre but have a few guiding ideals.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit, roguelikes are something I don't play for a very long time just because, well, you die and you die a lot.
Yeah.
It's like,
I
but
still think the ones where there's some meta progression are usually more
well, I noticed some.
interesting, to me at least.
Yeah, there is some meta progression here, not just in terms of the chaos cards, but like you get I unlocked a new character for the lobby. He's a I'm trying to remember, like a stuffed teddy bear kind of deal. And there's also like a shop to the side that gets unlocked.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, one of the interesting, I think, decisions we made was having players be able to start from the shop as like a first checkpoint, because
Mhm.
it really allows you to explore the gear, I think, more easily without having to risk, a whole run on it. You're just like, oh, I start from the shop, let's try out a few new items. You can go in and really experiment with stuff more freely.
Indeed. Is it only like at the first shop?
Yeah, just the first shop. The rest of the experience is all restart when you die. But first shop is our little like, okay, we know you're gonna die over and over. I don't want to make you have to do the first two floors, which aren't that exciting, over and over, and start from fresh every time. So it really lets you kind of like build a class on the fly almost.
Hmm. Like, speaking of which, was there any like inclination to add classes to the mix?
Yeah, so originally we were gonna go with classes, but we kind of felt like they did not, I guess, like there wasn't enough that would make the classes feel distinct that couldn't be better expressed through gears and power ups.
Hmm.
And we were eventually going to maybe give them like each one distinct thing for each of the two main characters, but at the end of the day, we kind of just felt like it didn't add anything to the experience that was, you know, too significant.
Right. And speaking of which, were there any plans to differentiate the two main characters?
So we've been considering like doing a sort of class thing with the main characters, but then we kind of felt like we'd rather the co-op be even, and we just would give the players, chaos cards that would let them change their starting gear, so they could kind of choose classes that way.
Hmm. Uh, that is interesting. Like, hmm. As I said, I'm pretty much out of questions here. So, uh, I think that'll about do it for this interview.
All right.
Now, I mean, I've certainly been enjoying the game so far, and looking forward to playing some more of it. We are planning on reviewing the game this
Yeah. Thanks.
Sunday. Um,
Great.
yeah, it's like not sure if that's our first or second review, but then again, it really doesn't matter.
It's only a couple, like a half-hour difference, so.
Yeah, it's like. uh, but yeah, so the game is Ruin of the Reckless. It's currently on Steam for the Windows platform. It's going for $14.99.
Yep.
Right? And it's coming soon-ish, I guess, to Linux and Mac. And how much is the soundtrack going for?
I think the soundtrack is maybe $3 or $4, something like that.
Okay. Okay. So with that on mind, it's on. Is it just on Steam, or can you get it on like the GOG?
It's on Steam, GOG, the Humble Store, and then we have an itch.io page also.
Okay. All right. So if you're interested, be sure to pick this game up at your, I guess, your preferred digital distribution service, and hopefully you have fun with it. All right, Petty Fan, play us to the next section. All right, welcome to the topic of discussion for the week. So this actually wasn't, how do I say this? This wasn't planned, because I'm sure you've heard by now that there's going to be a Mario and Rayman's Raving Rabbids crossover. I guess it's not Rayman, but Mario and the Rabbids are having a crossover RPG. It's something that's
for
been
some reason.
Well, it's like this is something that's been in the rumor mill for about a good 6-9 months. The point is, I've certainly heard about this thing for a while now, but like, what was it, yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? The official artwork leaked out, and like internal press materials. So yeah, we've got a new. I hesitate to use the word branch because this is probably a one-off crossover event.
God willing.
I'm like, now this could still be good.
You think rabbits would be good?
It definitely would be better if it was like Mario and Sonic or Mario and Rayman, but the gameplay could still be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, last time Sonic did an RPG, it didn't go so well either. So
This looks more action based than.
Well, it's like we know the details of what this game is, but we haven't seen gameplay footage. So I'm like, what worries me more about this crossover is it's being handled by Ubisoft. You can if you've seen the press materials, you can tell this is being directed by Ubisoft. At least the internal stuff was, because Mario Nintendo, I don't think on their own would have referred to Princess Peach as the badass princess. That's literally the word they used. I'm like, that's an Ubisoft directive right there.
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the cosplay Rabbids either, but whatever.
Well, it's also that, as noted, this is the first time that the Mario crew is using guns. Yeah, they're very.
Unless you count Flood.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm like, granted, they're wacky fantasy guns, but.
Yeah, Luigi's gun is pretty much a vacuum cleaner that shoots.
But I'm like, these are just guns. I mean, they're not shooting bullets or bullet bills, but.
At least not yet.
Yeah. But before we get too far down the beaten path with this.
Too far down the rabbit hole.
Oh, god damn it, Ogre.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that one.
Could you not?
Can you redact that, please?
No, that is something we all have to live with now.
God damn it.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, as I was saying beforehand, we'll explore this more next week because we'll be talking about Rayman and the Rabbids. So yeah, this is the latest in a lineage that's been going on for over 20 years now, and has 3 distinct branches. I mean, we talked about Mario RPGs in general way back in the day.
Naka is still part of the cast.
Yeah, Naka and Keith were definitely still here, and you guys weren't. So we're talking a long time here. And we like I said, we picked Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars just at random, and it just happened to line up with this not so much announcement, but massive leak. So getting into Legend of the Seven Stars here, if you don't know this game, I'm like, which is definitely possible because it's the oldest. It came out way back in 1996, and you got to understand the context. This was among the earlier Mario spin-offs. It's like, yes, Mario had appeared in spin-offs before, especially we're post Mario Kart, but nothing this substantial. Nothing. This was Mario, not so much taking on a different career, but a different genre. It's not because we've had Mario do that before in the past. We had like Dr. Mario, where Mario all of a sudden is a medical doctor and he's in a puzzle game.
Still not
Right?
sure how the hell I got that to work out, but okay.
You know, I guess
Somebody
Mario,
reminded me the other day he was also a baker on Yoshi's Cookies. So
yeah, he was also a referee in a bunch of Nintendo sports games. He
I would
was,
imagine there's a wiki somewhere that has all of Mario's occupations.
He was a pilot in what was the Nintendo version of Breakout?
Alleyway.
He was also Snowplow Man in one memorable episode.
Yeah. Like, I guess Mario, like, once again, like, Mario Kart's the closest here.
Mm-hmm.
Given that, Mario didn't have to change jobs to
Enjoy go-karting.
Yeah, it's like, granted, he's enjoying go-karting with his arch nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, okay, the original Mario Kart it wasn't Donkey Kong, but Donkey Kong Jr. People actually don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Donkey Kong
Still had Bowser, so
yeah.
Oh yeah, he did go with Donkey Kong Jr.
Yeah,
It's pretty easy to forget.
yeah, especially since
it's like been so long. So
it's also Super Mario RPG is a lot of things. It's I think it's the first major collaboration between Squaresoft and Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it would also be the last until 2003, when they got back together.
They got the band back together.
man,
The band. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, but and this is important to understand, because Nintendo wanted Mario in a grand epic adventure, but they didn't think they were the ones to do that. Like, this is why they went off and hired Squaresoft.
Almost like they make RPGs or something like that.
yeah, because hey, those guys are good at this thing. Maybe we should get them to do it for us.
Yeah, and as it so happened, Squaresoft was having some problems breaking in over here in the West. Like, like,
as dumb as that sounds, this is before like any major. Well, before the major success of the Final Fantasy series over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we're talking about the SNES era. Like, Square's RPGs are modest niche hits, but they're not doing even like they're doing maybe a fraction of the number they're doing in Japan.
Yeah, I think I saw like some retrospective, and it was like, it's one of the Final Fantasy games sold like millions over in Japan, and like sold like only a couple hundred here in the U.S.
Well, it also feeds into the perceptions of difficulty, because remember,
yeah, like Final Fantasy V was really difficult. That's why I never got over here.
right? And Final Fantasy IV had the easy type version localized. We got Final Fantasy Mystic Quest created specifically for us. In Japan, it's called Final Fantasy USA. So basically, Squaresoft did not think much of the typical North American player. And this is where they're coming from. They see a way to... They see a way in with their genre of choice, because if there's anybody who can sell an RPG to the masses over here, it's probably going to be the most famous mascot of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Mickey Mouse?
Okay, second.
Actually,
Joe Camel?
Actually, in the 90s, Mario was bigger than Mickey Mouse. Like, as it's been noted, more, at one point, more people could identify Mario than Mickey Mouse as a character, especially children.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how that plays out now, given how much the landscape of gaming and entertainment has changed. That's more on Mario than anything else.
Well, and also Mickey has been kind of dormant other than that like brief stint he had on TV.
Hey,
Well-
Mickey is like one of the guest stars in Kingdom Hearts.
But it'd be interesting just to see what it is now. I don't have the data in front of me.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back on track here. So that leads into the famous story of, Square had some, the Square staff had some mock-ups of Mario with a sword, and it was Shigeru Miyamoto himself who looked at that and said, "That's not the right weapon."
Yeah, apparently, it ultimately went to like a fan feedback thing, but
Well, yeah,
that was why there was the option of having him using a hammer and fireballs and stuff instead, because that's what Mario do.
well, actually, that's not what Mario did. Super Mario RPG is the first time he used the hammer as a weapon. The hammer beforehand was a thing he avoided. It was a weapon used against him.
Well, Donkey Kong.
Right. I'm talking outside the Donkey Kong franchise.
Mhm.
In terms of Super Mario, he hadn't really been seen with the hammer. Plus, given in mind we're talking about the mid '90s here, so I'm not sure how much the original Donkey Kong was on the mind. I mean,
Fair enough.
that's probably. I'm talking about the audience. Miyamoto probably thought of Donkey Kong when he recommended the hammer.
Mm-hmm.
But the point being is, Super Mario RPG really reestablished Mario using the hammer after 15 years of not using it. And the hammer has continued to be his default weapon across the entire Super Mario landscape.
Right.
The Super Mario RPG landscape, I should say. But yeah, it's also worth noting that early in development, Super Mario RPG was being developed in a more traditional style.
Not isometric.
Yeah, no, not isometric. I think it was more directly top down, and I'm trying to remember if it was sprite based, but I'm like, yeah. Guess what game really changed the direction of Super Mario RPG?
Wasn't it Donkey Kong Country? Because they went with a very
Yep.
pre-rendered art style.
Yeah, it was. They saw Donkey Kong Country and they said, "We want some of that."
Yeah.
So yeah, they bought the Silicon Onyx systems, I believe. They bought the same stuff that Rare was using to use on Super Mario RPG. Which also leads me to an interesting question that I've been musing about lately. What would a modern day sequel or even remake to Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars look like? Because that ACM art style technology thing is very era specific.
Yeah, there was a very short while where it looked better than what they were doing with high definition sprites, and then actual 3D looked better, and then like good 2D looked better again.
I'd almost think they probably go with like the claymation route at this point.
That could be a good way because, I don't know what they would use, but I'm pretty certain that they wouldn't use this. I'm like, unless they were, really, really secure in that the ACM plasticky look is actually part of the Super Mario RPG DNA.
And really, that has always looked to me like an approximation of claymation anyway. So
yeah.
Same here, actually.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know if there's ever going to be a sequel to Super Mario RPG. You know,
I have my
aside from all the
doubts.
ones it already technically has.
I have my
mean,
doubts
like a-
mostly because Square Enix owns a lot of it.
it's
Well,
not. So much,
they're on good terms again, so that would be possible again. It's more that Mario's RPG adventures have diverged from that significantly, and there are 2 different series of them,
yeah, it's
at
like
least. So,
yeah, and keep in mind Nintendo has more direct control over those. Plus, if you don't know, a good number of the talent that worked on Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars here migrated over to a developer called Alpha Dream. And
Mm.
Alpha Dream is the developer of the Mario and Luigi series. So it's more a Super Mario RPG 2 done by Square Enix may be seen as redundant.
Because the people aren't still there anymore.
Well, it's not a branch that's ever gotten a sequel, and I'm sure it would still be popular, but you know, is it something that they need to do? Probably not. You know, it's also, yeah. Keep in mind just how much fucking time has passed between, you know, here and the release of Super Mario RPG. You know, it's been more than 2 decades. It's been 21 years since this game got released. That's a lot of time. So, a sequel to this,
and frankly, the isometric style, I get they actually probably introduced the isometric style to be more welcoming to platforming than a straight top-down style was. But it's kind of awkward for the kind of platforming that's involved.
yeah, that is the other thing. Like, isometric probably was about the best choice they could have gone with. At that moment in time, arguably. I mean, here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of isometric jumping. Never
Right.
have been. Because it's super awkward to do.
No. Just no.
Yeah, I've got bad memories.
It would be slightly better maybe with a analog controller, because with a control stick you have to use the diagonals of the control stick. But yeah, it would probably be better to do it in a thing that has, selectable camera control and do it actual 3D with claymation or something.
Yeah.
And that's if they, in order to make a sequel to it, want to keep anything close to the same aesthetic, because that's hardly guaranteed.
Yes. But it's, for the time, it was definitely the most action-oriented RPG the world had ever seen. Like,
Yeah.
it's quite literally. Like, I don't think Super Mario RPG quite gets the recognition it should get for making the RPG genre more dynamic. Because this is the game that introduced action commands.
He knows about timed hits.
Yeah, it's
God,
the game
those really helped with a lot of RPGs.
Yeah.
Not that I don't like the old style via Dragon Quest and the like, but does that make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Because prior to this game, it was all, you just enter the commands. In fact, like one of the great unsung innovations of Phantasy Star 4, I know this might seem to be a...
Macros?
Macros, yes. You could just auto input your favorite attack moves and be on with your day. The point is, it got to a point where, yeah.
So Final Fantasy 12 and 13 weren't the first ones there. And people bitch about them on that.
Oh no, yeah, it's like, but yeah. So now, granted, you could still get by doing, the usual stuff, but
not well. You would do way less damage.
Yep.
I said you could get by, but in order to really play the game, you had to master the timing, not just of the attacks, the defenses, the magic spells, even using items. All had a timing input that benefited you if you got it right, and kind of later expanded in the later Mario RPGs.
Yeah, whether it be reasonably forgiving timing for getting multiple jumps off in a row to like the frame perfect timing for Geno World doing 9,999 damage in a game where the max hit points of anything, including the final boss, is, like in the hundreds.
Something like that. And I'm like,
I was gonna think worse along the lines of that ultra jump that you could just do forever.
Yeah, that gets pretty tight after like a few also. So
Actually,
Try to get the world record, kids.
That's a
I think
thing.
it was, yes. Of course it is.
there is one where you can do it at least 100 times because you have to do it 100 times to
I
get the
think
thing.
that's super jump.
Yeah, that's the super jump.
Yeah, ultra jump is just you can do it forever until you miss.
Mhm.
But it's also worth noting that this is probably the most. How do I put this? The most traditionally laid out of the Super Mario RPG series. I'm like it's simplified in comparison to say Final Fantasy or even Chrono Trigger, but you compare it to your like the Paper Mario series or Mario and Luigi, and there's still more traditional RPG tropes going on here than in those branches.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's obviously partially because this is done by SquareSoft, but like I said, that's another thing. I wonder if we got like a sequel or anything more out of this branch, what would that look like? Like, would they would they get rid of say equipment like they've done in say Paper Mario and
Replace
so on
everything
and
with badges or
yeah
nothing.
Yeah, just parse it down more like they did other things, because as I said, even though like Paper Mario has moved away from hard RPG tropes in favor of quote unquote action adventure. Um, Super Mario RPG did lay down like the basic structure of a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
Flower points, the shared mana pool,
Mm-hmm.
the three-way upgrade system. It's like upgrade your hit points, your defense, or your attack. That came back for Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, for example. Now, stuff like that. It's like even though the other branches broke away significantly, probably because they had to. As mentioned,
Legally distinct from the Lollipop Guild.
as mentioned, yeah, this was a collaboration between Square and Nintendo, and it was one of those deals where, well, obviously Nintendo would retain all the Mario stuff, but all the original music, all the original characters, all the original everything is the property of Square Enix. Thank you, Mario and Luigi, for telling us that, because Geno made an appearance there, and it said he's owned by Square Enix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's an original character created by them, so it's their
So
property.
basically, if Geno shows up in the next Nintendo E3 thing, the entire world is gonna go insane at that point, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Also, another thing that was hyped up about Super Mario RPG back in the day is this is the first time you had Mario and Bowser working together.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
like they didn't count something like Super Mario Kart. Like,
Yeah,
granted,
that's friendly competition anyway,
but I remember like all the previews hyping up the fact that Mario and Bowser have to team up to fight a bigger evil. And this is still, keep in mind, this is before the days of the endless spin-offs and Mario and Bowser working together. Like I said, this is the first time. Like,
representing the same country at the Olympics.
Honestly, Bowser's villainy status kind of depends on the context. Like, he's a very light villain in the spin-offs.
Usually, yeah.
It's like in the RPGs, he's sometimes an ally. Where he's the big bad big monsters in the mainline Mario games.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, I mean, you do have the occasional Super Mario Sunshine missteps. Oy.
Well, he's still the biggest real enemy in that game. He's just, a doof.
And he's like
well, he's still literally the biggest. He's just in a fucking hot tub.
Yeah, that was
Hey,
dumb.
don't underestimate the villainous potential of hot tubs or something.
Yeah. At any rate, so yeah, this was the, this was the very first time that we had Bowser as an ally, and we had a bigger bad that wasn't a repurposed platformer. I'm talking about Super Mario 2 here.
Or whatever, or Tatanga.
Yeah.
Who here remembers Tatanga?
I do.
Actually, no. Well, okay. I'm talking about in the mainline stuff.
Right.
It's like the Game Boy is its own weird universe because that, because if we're taking that into consideration, then Wario.
Mm-hmm.
Wario was also the main bad guy of Super Mario Land 2, but
I'm still waiting
That
for
was
a
before
damn
Mario
Mario and Luigi and Wario and Waluigi game. That is too
Yeah,
perfect.
where is that game? That is like the most obvious game and way better than Babies. Also, it would let Waluigi be in a game that's not a sports game.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, that's a question. That's a question that can't be answered at this point in time.
Unless one of you actually have uncles that work at Nintendo.
Even then.
My uncle said they're totally bringing Mother 3 over.
Oh,
I'll
jeez.
tell him to get on that.
At any rate, yeah. In addition to Bowser, you have original characters Gino and Mallow. Mallow is the he is the tadpole who is not a tadpole.
Yes, he was raised by frogs, but he is in fact a cloud person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Gino is, well, he's actually not a doll. He's actually
a star spirit possessing a doll.
Yes. His real name is something literally unpronounceable by human tongue.
Yep.
And your fifth character, this was actually kept semi-hidden. Like, it wasn't mentioned in any of the previews or anything, but yes, you do have to rescue Princess Peach, or this was actually still the time.
She was called Toadstool.
Yeah, maybe the last time she was.
This was around the time because Super Mario 64 is when they switched over to Peach.
Yeah, and I think that was the next game after.
Yeah, like I said, this may have been the last time they called her, Princess Toadstool.
Well, without anything else, because in 64 she was still Princess Toadstool Peach.
Well, that was the official transition, which honestly I think Sega should have maybe had done that in one of the Sonic Adventure games.
They did.
Oh yeah, they did, didn't they? Like, he's still called Dr. Robotnik, but then they switched over to the Eggman. Huh.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And again, and Robotnik is still definitely canonically his last name, if not more so than before.
Yeah, but Eggman was always his identity in Japan.
Right.
Mhm.
But yeah, now he goes by
Dr. Ivo Eggman Robotnik.
yeah, but it started out in Sonic Adventure as a reference to like Sonic's like insulting nickname for him, but
Right. But he came to embrace the nickname. Like,
Mhm.
there was never.
you know what? I am the Eggman.
Yeah.
And then theme
Well, it
music
should-
plays.
Don't you dare.
Debated
He's
it.
got the master plan.
Anyway, well, they changed the name for exactly the same reason. She was called Princess Toadstool over here, but she was always known as Peach in Japan.
Yeah, Peach, because there's like a mythological thing of Momohime, which is literally Princess Peach.
Anyway, so the point we're getting at here is you do get to play as Princess Peach. About
She is your healer and smacker of people using frying pans.
and if you have the right weapon selection or armor selection, she can be seriously your best character. Like, she can be your
Yeah.
not only can she kill you, but she'll be able to be a fucking powerhouse.
Yeah, she could keep your entire party from dying and also be almost invincible.
Yeah. So, you know. And in addition to the Smithy Gang, who is your new antagonists.
They're all based on weapons because they're all manufactured by a guy named Smithy who is themed after a blacksmith.
You will
So you got
encounter
Bowyer, who is a bow, Yaridovich, who is a Yari, which is a lance, Exor, who is a giant sword.
the Axum Rangers, not only axes, but a Super Sentai parody.
Mhm.
Like, but in addition to that, you will be fighting a myriad of independent villains. From the thief Croco to the insane Booster.
Who is totally not Wario.
I'm like, he actually isn't Wario.
I know, but he looks very similar to Wario, is what I was getting at.
Wario doesn't have a beard.
The Sharkman, Jonathan Jones, and more. I'm like, and speaking of Wario, this is the game that actually introduced evil Yoshi to the mix. I'm like, I think this
Oshi or Washi, depending on your region.
I think this gets forgotten because he's probably owned by Square. But yeah, well before Camelot created Waluigi, but after Nintendo R&D 1 created Wario, we had Boshi. He is literally, I guess he's not evil Yoshi. He is more
Jerk
delinquent.
Yoshi.
Yeah, he's like delinquent punk Yoshi. He's got like a spike collar and dark sunglasses and shit. And his big thing is you got to take him down in a race.
Because that's what Yoshi's do in this universe.
Yes. Like, I'll be honest. I
Race
never
was
like.
annoying.
Yeah, it's like I never like the race because it's all timing based and.
Yeah, you don't have direct control. All you can do is tap the button to encourage Yoshi and or feed him cookies, which, should make him go faster, but maybe doesn't sometimes.
He gains 2 steps and then just stops.
Pretty much. You got time with the music as well. Ugh.
Oh, is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah, apparently
Yes,
you're supposed
music.
to time it with the music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played this game when I was very young, and I was very bad at it.
Yeah, I'm like, there's quite a bit of music stuff in this because like one of the bigger side quests is getting the uh
Todovsky.
yeah the Tadovsky cards. Like Tadovsky has these cards to a very good item shop, um, but you need to beat his musical puzzles, and if you
Oh, yeah.
don't know music, you're gonna have a hard time.
Oh, and
This
this
is
game
around
also
a
has some
time-
almost Mario Party levels of obnoxious randomness. Like less obnoxious perhaps because it's not mostly like giving you an advantage over your friend or vice versa since it's a single player game, but like getting into Bellome's secret room is like some serious bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I'll be honest. This is something I never did without a guide.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, this was still the era of guides and Nintendo Power and probably the Nintendo Helpline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I believe I did own the Super Mario RPG guide. I'm like,
Now,
uh,
that wasn't one of the ones where the game came packed in like Earthbound, was it?
No, that's pretty much just Earthbound.
All
I
right.
think it did come with the Super Nintendo when they started putting the game with it. I think I might be wrong.
Like there was a package of the game, the guide, and a Super Nintendo.
I think so. Might be wrong though.
But the game, just when the game was just the game, did not come with a guide.
No.
Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was pretty much just Earthbound.
yeah, it was just Earthbound. Like I said,
Yeah.
the perception of American players not getting RPGs because they were too challenging. I feel like had they seen what was going on in the CRPG field, maybe they would have felt differently.
They would have added an extra hard mode.
Yeah, but that's another topic for another day. Um, like, I suppose also worth mentioning there are a couple of cameos. Link is pretty easy to find, though. Samus, you have to work at a bit to find. Like,
Mhm.
She's this very like tight window, like she appears after Yari's defeated, but
Mhm.
just
Mhm.
before you go into like the cloud area,
Right.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, and then there's Culex, who is a cameo of like the concept of Final Fantasy.
Pretty much. Like,
Yeah.
He's 4 elemental crystals, and he's drawn in very much the Final Fantasy 5-6 design style.
so another thing, probably not well known, is Super Mario RPG was the beneficiary of a special chip. Obviously, it was in the Super FX or Super FX2 because they let you know if the Super FX chip was powering a game. Like, it would say on the label, powered by the Super FX or Super FX2.
Mhm.
This was done by the Nintendo SA1 chip.
What was this one specialized for?
It was an additional microprocessor that allows for higher clock speeds, faster access into random access memory, greater memory mapping capabilities, data storage, and compression. New direct memory access modes, such as a bitmap to bit plane transfer, and a built-in CIC lockout for piracy protection and regional marketing control.
That last
So,
one is why Super Mario RPG does not work on most emulators.
yes. I'm
It's,
like,
as far as I know, it still has not been cracked successfully to this day. Like, it can kind of work, but it's not optimal.
I can tell you, I played Super Mario RPG on an emulator. It worked pretty well.
Hmm.
Also, I'll note Nintendo themselves have emulated the game because
Yeah, but presumably they know how to lock it out.
Mm-hmm.
right. But just also worth noting, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of noteworthy stuff with this game. but if the perception of North American gamers was low, Europe was even worse. I'm like,
yeah, I'm not sure why. Maybe it was just because they didn't want to bother translating into all the languages you'd have to do to market something
It
successfully.
was projected low sales. That's literally all it was.
Okay.
well, no, it wasn't just low sales, but yes, they would have had to spend additional money translating the game into other languages, also converting it into PAL. Now, so like converting games into the PAL format isn't just a switching the television signals and you're done. Especially back in
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's mostly universal, but yeah, back in the day, no.
it's like because the big problem with PAL, even though it had higher fidelity back in the day, it was quite a bit slower in terms of NSTC is 60 hertz, PAL is 50 hertz.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say it'll still whack your clock speeds potentially.
So the point of order here is there was just too much to be done in order to get the game released in a timely fashion for Europe. Because remember, this game came out. It's arguably the last great hurrah of the Super NES.
Mhm.
Because this game came out in like March of 1996.
Yeah.
The Nintendo 64 hit like within about 6 months.
Yeah.
And yes, there were other games, other major games that got released. But look at like Donkey Kong Country 3. When that got released, it was very much overshadowed by what Nintendo was doing with the Nintendo 64. And the Super NES didn't last much longer, once the 64 was out. So, yeah, it's not a surprise that they didn't bring Super Mario RPG to Europe until, 2008.
Yeah, when it came out on the Virtual Console.
You know, most of Square's and Enix's RPGs missed Europe. For as bad as we had it in the 16-bit, Europe had it worse. And no, I'm well aware that Europe got Terranigma. That was like their one. They got.
To be fair, they
Terranigma.
got a pretty good one.
Yeah, they got a pretty good one, but they didn't get the entire 16-bit catalog of SquareSoft, for example.
Final Fantasy 4 through 6, Secret of Mana.
Yeah, except Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. That one they did get.
AKA Final Fantasy Why Bother?
Yeah, I'm like, at that point, I think somebody just hated Europe. Yeah,
Pretty much.
It's like it wasn't even called like Final Fantasy over there. It was just called like Mystic Quest.
They know what they did.
Yeah. Well, the first Final Fantasy game to reach Europe was Final Fantasy VII. So, Super Mario RPG not reaching PAL Land was not an uncommon occurrence when it came to RPGs. Like, really, the only publisher that was doing any worthwhile work in terms of RPGs outside of the one, the one-off Terranigma thing, was Sega. Like Sega brought over the Phantasy Star to Europe and shit like that. Just Sega, the Genesis, even though they had their RPG series, it's not the console you think of when you think of RPGs in the 16-bit era.
Mm-hmm. Like, they had some pretty good ones, and I'm pretty sure that's a topic in and of itself, but...
Yeah. Right, anyway, I'm sure we could go on and on about this.
But we do have a time limitation here.
Yeah, I'm like, and we are at it. So, final thoughts on Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
It's a game you can play.
Yes.
Now that you've got me thinking about it, I actually really would like to see a clay-style sequel.
See?
That's probably the best thing that they could do. I mean, make it like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
You could even call it literally Clay Mario just to make a joke on Paper Mario.
Mhm.
I don't know if they did that, then it might become its own series.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No, it's like, and then it would not just be an art style; it would be Mario literally clay, and everything.
That's true. That way lies lots of gimmicks.
Yeah, it's like you gotta remember how Nintendo thinks. Now, Nintendo's been ever increasingly doubling down on the paper gimmick. You know, like last time was stickers. Now it's paint. Who knows what the next one is going to look like? Hell, so. With that in mind, this will conclude this installment of Fragments of Silicon. Petty Fan, do you have the MSP information in front of you?
Tonight our guest.
Jinwicked.
Yeah, Jinwicked.
Right. Yeah, I'm told she's done a bunch of stuff. I hadn't had the time to look into it, which is just as well. I'm not expected to be the anchor of any particular MSP interview.
Mhm.
So, she's like a blogger, a webcomic artist, a YouTuber. I guess that's the official nomenclature we're going with. Anyway, so coming up next week, we've got two interviews to go through, and we've got two reviews happening on the weekend. First up is indeed we will be reviewing Ruin of the Reckless, and after that we'll be reviewing Mages of I think it's called Mistralia. I'm trying to remember the official pronunciation. Ruin of the Reckless is, well, we just did an interview about it. Mages of Mistralia. We actually did an interview about this game last year. It's a third-person action game where mixing magic is the central gimmick. Played
Mages
a couple
of Australia. Gotcha.
Yeah, played a couple hours. It's pretty good. It's been pretty good so far. And anyway, coming up next Tuesday, May 30th, we have I think they're still trying to figure out who exactly they're sending over. I haven't gotten names of representatives yet, but we'll be having End Dreams VR on the program.
I bet they do VR stuff.
Yeah, it's I think this might be our first dedicated VR studio. We've had people who've worked in VR before on the program, but as you can tell from the name, they work solely on virtual reality experiences, or at least games.
I assume we're not going to be reviewing any of their products.
No.
This is
Probably.
A joke about the fact how none of us have a VR setup.
Yeah, they're working on a game called Bloody Zombies, which is a co-op brawler, playable, on console, PC.
Are they British?
Yes, they are.
Okay, so the pun is fully natural.
Yes. That's why we're interviewing them on Tuesday. At any rate, on May 31st, we'll be interviewing Joe Tringali of Digital Continue. They're the ones who are working on one of THQ Nordic's one of their past properties. They're converting a game called Blox Quest, which was a really rather underrated DS game that was released back in 2008, and they're bringing it to the PC, the PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One.
That doesn't ring any bells. I'll have to look that up.
Well, it's going to be interesting because it's a DS game, and they're bringing it to modern consoles.
Like the 3DS? No, I'm kidding. If it's a DS game, it can already be played on the 3DS.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the nice things about the 3DS. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, just double checking. Everyone went quiet all of a sudden.
You were talking.
Just letting you leave on that one.
Right. So that's the week ahead. Be sure to tune in about 20 minutes for MSP. And until then, I wish you good gaming.